I'm 71 years old, and I live in a house that's rarely quiet. There are voices, footsteps, doors opening and closing. And yet most nights I feel more alone than I ever did when I lived by myself. My name is Michael. I'm saying that out loud now because it still feels strange to introduce myself this late in life, like I've been standing in the background for decades and only just stepped forward. I used to think loneliness came from empty rooms, from being abandoned, from not having anyone. I was wrong about that. Loneliness can sit right next to you on the couch and never look your way. I'm telling this now because I don't have the luxury of pretending anymore. Time has a way of making things honest. You wake up one morning and realize that pretending takes more energy than you have left. Right now, I'm sitting at the kitchen table, the same table we've had for years. There's a coffee mug in front of me that's gone cold. Someone else is in the house. I can hear the television from another room, but no one knows what I'm thinking, and I don't think anyone has for a long time. It didn't start like this. It never does. When I was younger, in my late 20s and early 30s, I believed I was doing everything right. I had a steady job, a marriage that looked solid from the outside, later children, a routine. I wasn't reckless. I wasn't cruel. I showed up where I was supposed to. I paid the bills. I fixed things when they broke. I thought that was what being present meant. Back then, my days were full. Work took most of my attention, not because I loved it, but because it demanded me. There were deadlines, expectations, people who needed answers. When I came home, I was tired in a way that felt earned. I told myself that providing was a form of love, that silence at dinner was just the cost of adulthood. There were moments I noticed things felt off, small ones, like when my wife would start talking about her day and I'd realize halfway through that I hadn't heard a word, or when one of the kids would try to show me something and I'd say, "Just a minute," without looking up. Those minutes added up. I didn't see that then. The house was always full, toys on the floor, noise, movement. I told myself that meant connection. I told myself we were close because we were together, because we shared walls and meals and schedules. I didn't understand that proximity isn't the same as intimacy. I thought there would be time later, time when work slowed down, time when the kids were older, time when conversations would be easier, deeper, less rushed. That belief felt reasonable. It felt responsible. Everyone around me believed it too. What I didn't realize was that while I was waiting for the right time to really be there, the people I loved were slowly learning how to live without me. Not physically, emotionally. They learned not to interrupt, not to expect too much, not to ask questions that wouldn't get answered. By the time I noticed the distance, it felt normal, comfortable even, quiet in a way that didn't demand anything from me. I mistook that comfort for peace. Looking back now from where I sit at 71, I can see the shape of what was forming. But back then, I was just a man doing what he thought was necessary, making choices that made sense in the moment, truly believing that nothing important was being lost. That's the part that hurts the most to admit. I didn't ignore my life. I slowly stepped away from it, one ordinary day at a time. I didn't notice the loneliness growing because it didn't announce itself. It didn't arrive with an argument or a slammed door. It came quietly hiding inside habits that looked responsible. In my 40s, life became a series of motions. Wake up early, drive to work, come home, tired, sit down, watch the news, go to bed, repeat. I told myself this was stability, that this was what people worked their whole lives to achieve. My wife and I talked, but not the way we used to. Conversations became logistical. Who was picking up whom? What bill needed paying? What needed fixing around the house? We stopped talking about how we felt because there never seemed to be a good time for that kind of thing. There was always something else that needed attention first. I remember nights when she would sit across from me at that same kitchen table. She'd say something like, "Do you ever feel like we're just passing each other?" And I'd laugh it off, not unkindly, just uncomfortably. I'd say we were fine, that every couple went through phases, that things would slow down eventually. I meant it. I truly believed it. The kids grew up in that house. They were loud when they were young, then suddenly they weren't. They retreated into their rooms, their headphones, their own worlds. I assumed that was normal too. I told myself they didn't need me the way they used to, that my job was mostly done. Sometimes one of them would linger near me like they wanted to say something, and I'd be distracted, thinking about work, thinking about tomorrow, thinking about anything except the person standing right in front of me. I didn't push them away, I just didn't pull them in. Years went by like that, quietly, efficiently. The first real crack came later when my wife got sick. Not suddenly, slowly. Doctor visits, test results, long waits in cold rooms. Sitting beside her while she stared at the wall, afraid in a way I had never seen before. That was when I realized how little practice I had at being emotionally present. I wanted to comfort her, but I didn't know how. The words felt awkward in my mouth. My hand on her shoulder felt unfamiliar, like I was touching someone I loved, but didn't fully know anymore. She needed me then, not as a provider, not as a problem solver, just as a person who could sit with her fear without trying to fix it. And I wasn't very good at that. She recovered eventually, or at least her body did, but something between us didn't. The space that had grown quietly over decades didn't disappear just because we were reminded of our mortality. By the time the house started to empty, it felt almost natural. The kids moved out, one by one, hugs at the door, promises to call, life continuing the way it always does, and suddenly the house that once felt full began to echo. Not with noise, but with absence. That was when I understood something I wish I'd seen sooner. The loneliness hadn't arrived after everyone left. It had been there the whole time. By the time I turned 70, the house filled up again. Different people, different rhythms, family gatherings, holidays, noise returning in short bursts. From the outside, it probably looked like a second chance at warmth. But loneliness doesn't care how many shoes are by the door. I sit in rooms now where people talk over one another, laugh, scroll their phones. I nod, I smile, I listen, and somehow I still feel unseen. Not because they're cruel, not because they don't love me, but because I never learned how to stay emotionally open long enough for anyone to really meet me there. That's the part no one warns you about. If you spend decades closing small doors inside yourself, you don't magically know how to open them again just because you're old and afraid. The habit of distance becomes part of your posture, part of your voice, part of how you sit quietly while life moves around you. I don't blame anyone for this. That matters to say. My wife didn't abandon me. My children didn't forget me. They grew into the space I left behind. They adapted. just like I did. Sometimes I wonder who I would be if I'd asked one more question at dinner, if I had put my work down 10 minutes earlier, if I had said, "Tell me more," instead of, "I'm tired." Those thoughts come late at night, when the house finally is quiet and there's no one left to distract me from myself. I can't change what I didn't give when it mattered most. I've made peace with that, or at least I'm learning to. Regret doesn't need to scream to hurt. Sometimes it just sits with you, patient, waiting for the rest of the world to fall asleep. If you're listening to this and it feels uncomfortably familiar, I'm not here to tell you what to do. I wouldn't dare. I can only tell you what I learned too late. Loneliness isn't about being alone. It's about being absent while you're still there. I don't have many years left to say things honestly, so I'm saying this now quietly, without drama. Presence is not something you catch up on. It only exists in the moment you're living. And when that moment passes, it doesn't come back to look for you.